Following up on that, thank you, Mr. Secretary, and I want to thank the three senators to my left for their leadership on medical research. I'm disappointed that the President's budget calls for a reduction of 6.2% in spending at the National Institutes of Health. I hope that we have the wisdom to ignore that suggestion and continue to move forward in critical medical research. A 32.5% decrease suggested by the President's budget for the Center for Disease Control is equally vexing when you consider what we face now across this country in terms of public health challenges. So I'm counting on my three colleagues to my left who have shown real leadership in this area. I hope Congress can show a better approach to the administration. Let me ask you to join with me for thinking for a moment about the issue of addiction today and how it has changed. I spent a major part of my congressional career fighting big tobacco for personal reasons, for family reasons, and for obvious public health reasons. And there are indicators that we started moving just slightly in the right direction. And the best indicator was the fact that we've seen a decrease in tobacco smoking among kids from 28% in the year 2000 to 8% in the year 2016. That's dramatic, because we learned that if you don't hook kids early while they're making the wrong decisions and immature, it's very difficult to convince them to become cigarette smokers later in life. Good news. Now let's talk about the sobering bad news that we face. We know from the opioid crisis that it strikes everywhere, not just in the inner city, but in wealthy suburbs and small towns. I can prove it in my state. Everyone sitting here can prove it in their own state. It is an insidious epidemic, the worst drug epidemic we have faced in America, period. Now it is morphing into a new version of that epidemic that is even more frightening, with the use of these synthetic narcotics like fentanyl, which can be produced, sadly, in a laboratory over a span, I understand, of 48 hours in the United States. It's no longer a question of the poppy fields growing somewhere around the world. It's our backyard and the opportunity people have to make fentanyl, to addict people, and to kill them with this synthetic drug. But it's not the only addiction. There's another one that I want to call to your attention, on your watch, that is becoming alarming. Between 2011 and 2015, the use of e-cigarettes, vaping, among high school kids increased more than tenfold, from 1.5% to 16%. In my state of Illinois, 27% of high school students are using vaping devices and e-cigarettes. I've talked to Dr. Gottlieb about this. When we confront the industry, they say, no, this is about getting people off of cigarettes onto vaping, which is not as dangerous. Well, that might make sense. Maybe that argument might have some merit until we look at the products that are for sale. Let me show you some of those products for the record. These are vaping products available supposedly for adults to get off of using tobacco products. Jam Monster, a blueberry packaging flavor, and they say it's the same as jam, butter, and toast. Here's another good one here. Soft serve, ice cream flavors. Then when it comes to the flavoring, cupcakes, raspberry yogurt cupcakes. Raspberry jelly if you don't like raspberry yogurt. Maybe you're lactose intolerant. But the difficulty we have is that these are becoming so pervasive, so insidious, so fast, that when the FDA says we'll get around to this in 4 or 5 years, we don't have the time, Mr. Secretary. We don't have the time. We need to commit ourselves now to stop this. Did you read the Washington Post this morning? They're talking about saying that the kids in the schools in the suburbs here can't bring flash drives to school anymore because it looks too much like a vaping product, and they mistake one for the other. They're taking doors off the bathroom stalls in schools because kids are going into those stalls to vape during the course of a day. This is a galloping addiction, and one that is affecting children across our country. My obvious question to you is, what's this administration going to do about it?
Well, thank you. We share your goals here totally. And in fact, just last week, the FDA went after, I don't know if it's those precise products. If not, they will be. All these products that are clearly being marketed towards and aimed towards children, we are going after them. We will go after them. While the commissioner has laid out an agenda that tries to balance having alternative nicotine delivery devices available as a means for exiting combustible addiction from cigarettes and other devices, we must ensure that these alternative nicotine delivery devices are not marketed for or become an entry point into tobacco, exactly the concern that you're expressing. And we will be very vigorous in going after any bad actors that are trying to market or aiming towards entry points for children or others into addiction. So I think we're completely aligned. We need to just talk. We want to ensure that we get adequate regulation and that we develop this space of the exit path for combustible tobacco. We want to make sure that that develops, but it's done the right way, uncompromising in terms of any kind of entry path for children or others into tobacco addiction. We would share that goal completely, Senator.
I will tell you that while the jury is out on this conversion from combustible tobacco to vaping as to whether that actually is a legitimate purpose for this product, while the jury's out, the vigor and commitment of the industry in hooking our kids is unmatched. And I don't think there's a sense of emergency or urgency in this administration yet for something that could end up being, sadly, part of your legacy, to have stood by and watched as the percentage of kids in America became addicted, hopelessly addicted to nicotine through these products.